I'm Troy, this is Elizabeth, and bathroom remodeling on a budget. Any of you have a bathroom that's currently torn out and waiting to be put back together on a budget? Yeah, a couple of those. Well, what we're going to do today is we're going to go through kind of our process of design and our process of working on a bathroom. And we range, I have some handouts for you can pick up after the seminar, but we range from very simple bathroom models to more extravagant. And what we've really worked on over the last couple of years is people are trying to get more done with less, are those sort of budget concepts. And Elizabeth's going to take you through a lot of the design factors. I'm going to be here to answer some of the construction questions that come up. And hopefully by the end of the next 45 minutes, you'll have greater understanding of kind of how to manage your bath projects, a little bit of understanding of what we do, and hopefully we'll get a few minutes for questions there. So if you're not understanding or you're not hearing or there's communication problems back there, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth to get started.
So kind of an agenda, we'll kind of talk about planning, how we work, like Troy said, the design process, and if you're doing the project yourself, kind of the steps you should take before you start construction. I'll kind of talk about some products and trends, and Troy will talk about timing the remodel and some estimating, and then we've got a lot of photos. Hopefully we'll have time to go through those, and then some remodeling resources at the end.
We're going to kind of go through the process we take on when the client comes to us with design challenges in a bathroom that they want to do. Those of you that are completing this on your own, I think look at these tools that we've used, because really what we're trying to do is maximize design so that we know what the project is going to look like, we know the products that are going to go in it, we know what's happening once we tear it out. So if you're already torn out, you want to figure out how to put it back together, or you're thinking about a project, the key here is organization, design, figuring things out ahead of time. Our system at Castle, and we have 2 locations, one in Minneapolis and one in St. Paul, again, really is leaning toward heavy design, heavy planning, so that the process itself is as painless as remodeling can be, which can be painful. The initial meeting at the home, so we'll come out, take a look at your space, talk about why it's not functioning, how you would like to see it work better, and then start thinking about the tools that we can use to help you to get it to work better. From that, initially, we also create a ballpark. Same thing, I think, when you're doing these things themselves, is you think about what you want in there. You want to look at the materials you're putting together, the products, and then the time that it's going to take to get in there and do it, so that you have your own ballpark of what's my budget, what's my out-of-pocket, and what's my time. We're going to do the same thing, only ours is obviously going to be in the dollar format for the client to decide if we're kind of on the right page. Then we follow up after that with a second meeting in our showroom. At that point, we've developed an ideas and inspiration, some basic selections, and a basic design layout. We use Chief Architect to do 3D drawings for you, so they can start getting an idea how this space is going to come together. At that point, when people are interested in proceeding with us for some professional remodeling through the end of the process, we have a design and planning fee to take it from that sort of, here's what we can do, here's some great ideas, here's some preliminary budgets, to a nailed down, we know everything, we know your tile, your tub, your faucet, the paint colors, contract, that we can then obviously have a financial discussion and then proceed with the work efficiently. We're kind of unique. We do give a completion guarantee on our projects. So once we've worked hard together to figure out what's going in there, we will say, all right, we need 25 working days. If we aren't done in 25 working days, without any significant changes, we actually will pay the client $40 a day. So again, for us, this planning is key and it's important. And if you're doing it on your own, bathrooms are complicated. Everything's going on in one small space. All the trades and subcontractors are in there. So you want to be well planned. We'll go with a site visit, come out and check the home, have a final selection meeting, and then, as I said, we enter into a contract and do remodeling.
All right, so design process, the first step that I do, and designers in general, and if you're doing it yourself, the first step is conceptual design. So most baths, I would say 75 to 80% of the baths we do, it's kind of a fixed layout. You know, the tub, the toilet, your sink are all gonna stay in the same locations. You're just kind of updating and remodeling in the existing footprint. But if you've got a basement bath or you want to add some square footage from another room, maybe a closet, incorporate a linen closet, you know, if you're doing an addition that's going to have a bath, then you want to think about conceptual design and how the space is going to lay out. So just kind of consider traffic flow in adjacent rooms. If you're creating maybe a master bath, you know, how is that going to tie in with the bedroom, all of that stuff. Also, if you're doing a basement bath, it's important to kind of consider where the door is going to be. People don't like to have the bathroom right off your living space, so it's nice to kind of go down a hallway, and so it's a little bit more private. So those are all things to kind of consider if you're moving things around at all. So after you've figured out the layout, and like I said, most of the time it's going to be the same as it is now, you're going to start kind of designing the space, drop a floor plan, start figuring out kind of what materials you're thinking, whether it's a tile floor or a vinyl floor, what kind of shower surround you're going to do, if it's going to be a tub shower, if it's going to be just a shower. All of that stuff is kind of preliminary planning. And like Troy was saying, we have a software that we can see 3D views, which is really nice to kind of see, you know, where tiles laying out, and if you like wainscoting or beadboard, how you want things to look. So if you're doing it yourself, I think just kind of think about how the space is going to come together.
You can definitely
Totally.
you know, hand drawings. They're inexpensive home architectural software you can play with. The big box stores often will have some software to help you plan, but as you can even see in that first picture, you deal with the placement of towel bars, the placement of grab bars, the sinks and so on. So there's a lot to look at in a bathroom, and if you can get a visual representation of it, you're less likely to regret it, make mistakes, or miss something later.
So products and trends, people are always asking me about like what's in now, what's trendy, and what I usually tell them is my design philosophy, and I think Castle in general, is to kind of design things that are timeless, and it's not going to necessarily look like you designed your bath in 2012. So we try and do things that fit with the style of the home and are all kind of cohesive with what you've got going on in the rest of the house. That being said, there's some kind of newer products and things that people are gravitating towards. One thing is, well, the second item, pedestal sinks. We still do those a lot just because of space, and often smaller baths, you don't have room for a vanity. So those are still very popular. There's some wall mount sinks now too, which are kind of newer design. If you do have room for a vanity, furniture style vanities are popular, where they're kind of off the floor and you've got little feet on them. We have some pictures coming up later on. Different top options. We do cultured marble a lot, and people kind of have a bad impression of cultured marble, but there's a lot more color choices, and you can do integrated sinks, and it's really cost efficient. You can find that at big box stores too. Cabinetry wise, a lot of people often take out linen closets and put in linen cabinets. So that's a good way to get more space. Obviously cabinetry is expensive, so if you're on a budget, you kind of have to determine where you're going to spend and where you're going to save. Flooring wise, as far as budget goes, luxury vinyl tile is very popular. It's kind of a newer product. It's nicer looking than vinyl. And again, we've got a couple pictures coming up, but it's got durability and it's inexpensive. Finishes, obviously chrome is going to be your least expensive. Anytime you do a satin nickel or oil rub bronze, those are more expensive. And lighting, I think that's really important to make sure you've got enough lighting. You don't want to design the whole space and then not be able to see yourself. So making sure where those are placed, and over the sink light bars are a really good bang for your buck, I guess.
Fan light combo is another one where you put the fan and the light together. Can be a nice way to efficiently get that. A couple of the products that she went over here will be going through cultured marble and the vinyls. Products have been around a long time, but have really been redesigned. And so they're products that aren't as expensive as others. But as other things like the granite, the Cambrias kind of became popular, these older products went back and figured out how to be competitive. So whether it's a laminate, a cultured marble, the vinyl products, they have great new colors. They typically have figured out how to be more durable. In the case of laminate, they figured out how to do new edges that they couldn't even, they didn't have the technique to do before, and they can do all different curves and edges on those. So there are a fleet of products that you may have even heard of, and at times I think people kind of turn their noses up at it as far as budget. That really are redesigned, exciting colors, and good to work with for a lot of bang for the buck.
Yeah, so things that I consider during the design process, and if you're doing it yourself, you want to think about these before you start construction, are where accessories are going to go, your towel bars and grab bars. You want to make sure there's adequate blocking in the wall when it's being framed, so knowing the locations of those ahead of time is really important. Lighting, like I mentioned, or like Troy mentioned, fan light combos, how are things going to be switched, that's all crucial to kind of know before your electrician's in your space.
Timer on the bath fan is highly recommended. Bath fans are really critical to keep the environment in there from degrading due to the moisture. Now you set a timer, push it for 10 minutes and leave. We don't have to, oh yeah, I forgot to turn that switch off. So that's another great way to handle that piece.
Yeah, I think bath fans are a good place to spend your money because it's going to make your bath last longer. Like we mentioned before, location of drawers. If the space isn't private, it's on a main level, or you want more privacy, you can add some sound deadeners in the wall. And then universal or barrier-free design. I think it's just important to make sure you're designing for people of all ages and kind of considering people are staying in their homes longer, so considering grab bars and all that stuff.
And as you do a bathroom, I mean, you're hopefully doing it to last for, let's say, 15, 20 years. So you got to look at, I'll meet with a lot of clients that are around my age, and I start talking about grab bars and the things that you need to age with. And they might get a little offended because hopefully I'm not that close to needing that yet. But the reality is the bathroom's going to be around, and if we think about it and we plan for it, minor adjustments down the road can help you continue to occupy that space. So
some green ideas. Often, just a disclaimer, a lot of the green products are more expensive up front, and then once you use them and you get the water savings or the energy savings, it kind of pays for itself. But reusing is really important. There's a couple of bathrooms coming up where, she had recently put in a pedestal sink and it was in good condition, so we kept that. Things that work and you still like and work with the rest of the design, I think if you can keep them as much as possible. Low flow or dual flush toilets are very popular and a good green water saving. Water efficient shower heads, that's kind of an easy weekend project you can do. Replacing windows, I think, is a good. Yeah, you can get an insert. Most of these bathrooms, we work in the city, in Minneapolis, St. Paul, very similar housing stock to much of Bloomington, where you either have a story and a half or a rambler, that kind of thing with the one window in it. And replacing that window can really add to the comfort of a bathroom. And if you get an insert where just the sashes come out and a new window can go in, it can be a pretty unintrusive, low dollar, kind of another weekend project that can add a lot of comfort to that room. Yeah, and low or no VOC paints. It's just the off-gassing of the paint. So lower off-gassing is healthier paints, and that's most of the paints that are being heavily used are low VOC. Usually I have to ask for no VOC, but they're both a lot better than what we were painting the walls with 20 years ago. They just smell for weeks on end. So here's an example of kind of a final design and how final plans would look. And I think if you're doing it yourself, it's important to make sure all of the details are coordinated ahead of time. Locations of niches in the shower, how your vanity lights are going to lay out, all of that's really important. And then elevations, how high are light fixtures, where are your windows, planning for tile accents. Yeah, this is something that I feel we do add a lot of resource as professionals, being able to do that. You
can absolutely do it at home, but in that small space, you want a tile wainscot, and you want it to tie into the tile in your tub, and then you've got a vanity top, and then you've got lights and switching. The heights of each of those and how they tie together are critical, because you can end up with a light box coming in to switch the light, and it's a half on tile and half on sheetrock, and the day you go to put a plate on it, you realize that, okay, now I gotta deal with this. But so knowing, getting some help, putting things on paper and planning ahead can limit those things that they're easy to do in a bathroom. And it's, you know, you kind of live and learn by making those mistakes and then planning properly to avoid them next time.
Yeah, so project length, our design process is usually 3 to 4 weeks for a, 5 by 7 bathroom. When you're doing it yourself, it can take however long it takes, just depending on how often you have time to look at resources and kind of plan your space. And the remodeling process, depending on if it's a full gut to the studs or just a makeover, is for a bathroom is about 2 to 5 weeks. And like I said, more planning, less chance of surprises during construction, and less time that your bathroom's under construction, basically.
I've done a handful of the only bathroom in the house, so it's pretty critical you move right along with those. We can usually leave the toilet in except for the night the tile floor goes in, so that makes people able to tolerate it a little bit. That's a tough one, and it's one where we want to make sure we're moving along and keeping that client as comfortable as possible.
Yeah.
Speaking of comfortable, emotional roller coaster.
So this is a timeline for a huge addition or whole house remodel, but the emotions are the same. It'll just be condensed, basically. So it's just you're at a high when you're doing design, and then you see the price and it goes down. And construction starts, and things are kind of coming together. It's demolished, and then you've got new plumbing, and things are getting roughed in, and you're excited. And then all the stuff that takes a while, drywall and final fixture installs and all of that kind of.
I spent a couple of years in the painting industry, and that's near the bottom, but not quite the bottom, but it is true. The painters, they come in, they want to do a nice job, their product has to dry, and both the contractor and the client are like, make it go faster, I've had enough. But it is critical that we do like to go through this with our clients, recognize it, explain it, work to manage it, but also understand that it's there. So if I have a client that's in the bottom there and we're doing a kitchen or we're doing a bathroom, maybe a gift certificate out for dinner can help. And a reminder that, another week or two at this point of patience and letting the guys do their work and do it properly, letting tile set, letting paint dry, is going to be a real asset to a room that hopefully you're going to occupy for, 10, 20 years. So again, it's just being there and being patient through that. And it's a pretty legitimate, whether you're doing it yourself. I'm sure there's days where you walk in and you're like, I got to go back to work on that darn bathroom. So you're going to have that experience.
Yeah, and then hopefully at the end, after you've used the space for a while, you see the value.
It's worth it.
So some budget considerations. Anytime you're talking about moving plumbing, especially toilets, your cost is going to go up pretty significantly. Planning ahead, like I mentioned, it's going to save you time and money. If your bathroom's demolished and you're waiting for your tile from Italy for 6 weeks, time is money. So, yeah. And choosing fixtures that save water, again, maybe more upfront costs, but in the end, it's gonna save you some water consumption. And then kind of our standard is that if you're taking out the tub, you're basically redoing your whole bathroom. You can't get the tub out and not take out basically the entire surround and the walls, and so
floor.
Yeah,
it's going to impact the floor. So yeah, just that's kind of the thing that for folks that are trying to do things more on a budget. If that tub is salvageable, even if it's salvageable, and one of the refinishing companies comes in and puts a coat on it, which I've had pretty good luck with. I've had clients that if they take care of that in place professional finish, I've seen them go 8-10 years so far without any real degradation of the surface. And so it's a less expensive alternative to tearing out a bath, which then leads to you not having to tear out everything else. So it really is, that's your critical point, is do I have to pull that tub or can I live with it or refinish it? This is a handout. If you'd like one, go ahead and take it. Otherwise, pass it. That reflects sort of what we look at as far as a a makeover, a moderate enhancement to the bath, all the way up to a custom, tear it up, do whatever you want, have fun with crazy tile and so on. And the prices that come with each of it. So the sheet that I've passed out is obviously, it's our guide, and it's how we proceed, and some ideas, getting folks pricing ahead of time and have them understand and be able to participate in the conversation of cost for these things, we believe is critical, because most of our clients don't have the funds. So this kind of documentation, other documentation that's available on our website, is really to educate our clients and start looking at where they can be and where they want to be on this four section separation. But as you do your own job and as you look at it yourself, looking at the makeover, which means we're keeping some things, we're refinishing some things, that's obviously going to be a budget saver. The moderate and classic, what we're getting into in there is you take out more stuff, but you manage the cost of the replacement item. You know, a vinyl floor versus a new ceramic tile floor, things like that. And then obviously up at custom, that's the world where we get into and the client's got something special they want to accomplish. And they've got the budget to be able to do some of those things. And you know, that can be anything from the multiple head showers that some people are doing to a very special tile. Up in northeast Minneapolis, we have a lot of handmade tile outlets. There's actually Minnesota, I guess, and the tile community is known for a lot of custom handmade tile. And there's some beautiful stuff that we work with people to either do a lot of it or a little bit of it as an accent. And again, that's going to affect whether I'm on a moderate, whether I'm on a custom, higher end. So those are the choices you make. Maybe you want to do a little special tile, but you do it in a shower niche, in a constrained area instead of spreading it all over the room. And you'll end up more in the moderate area.
All right, so we've got a ton of pictures.
At this point, if you, we're going to start showing some samples of things we've done, how they fall into those four categories from the sort of makeover all the way up to the whole hog, the big bath. But if you have some questions on that, let us know, because we're going to kind of just try to give you some ideas, show you some of the work that we've done.
So these are just two half bath examples. The first one on the left, you can see the sloping ceiling, so they opted to put in a pocket door so that they could create a little powder room in there. You've got to be careful of door swings in toilets and consider some code issues with that too.
Pocket doors are nice if the swing of the door gets in the way, or if it's a door that doesn't get opened or closed very often. Hardware-wise, they don't last as long or function as well as swinging doors. So you're going to want to assess sort of, is it worth it to have a pocket because I have to have the floor space, which is really what you're looking at in that picture on the left.
And the one on the right, I think, is kind of a good example of some medicine cabinet options. That one's kind of custom with some white trim. You can find a lot of similar things like that at big box stores, Home Depot, and stuff like that. This is the bathroom in our St. Paul showroom. So it's ADA compliant. There's a turning radius for a wheelchair in there.
What's ADA?
American with Disabilities Act. So you can't see the other side, but there's also grab bars around the toilet. But this is an example of a solid surface Corian top and integrated sink. And then that's satin nickel faucet, and you can see the tile wainscoting, which is fairly popular depending on the age of your house.
And this is a tile wainscoting using a subway tile. It's that 3x5 white that you see. Very affordable, but dressed up with probably a decent investment in that black or dark gray pencil rail you see there. But again, it's going to be carefully deployed so that it looks cool without having to be the expensive product all over the wall.
So this is an example. This was a 1.5 story remodel, and there's some attic space, so they were able to create some niches around the toilet for extra storage. And the next picture is the rest of the other side. So that's an example of a fiberglass shower surround, which is a really inexpensive way to create a shower. You don't have the cost of the tile and the labor, and there's some newer models with little benches, and it's just kind of a good budget saver. And then there's kind of an example of a stock vanity. So you're going to be a little bit more limited on sizes and colors, but there are lots of good options out there. This was actually a sauna before, you can see, in a laundry room. and she wanted a bathroom in her basement. So we put in kind of a curved, pre-made shower there. It was a really tight space, and that it worked out really well for her. And then a pedestal sink and toilet, and you can see there's a glass block window at the top. This was a closet, and they turned it into a half or a 3/4 bath. So that's what I was talking about with vanities that look like furniture. So they're on legs, and the tile goes all the way underneath. Those are very popular and kind of makes your space seem a little bit bigger, and the vanity isn't taking up quite so much visual space. This was another 1.5-story bath, and they had, you can see before, the vanity actually jutted into the space, and there's a stairway behind here. So they pushed the vanity out over the stairway, and I wish we had a photo of the vanity open, but there's basically like a triangle cut out of the back of the vanity so that they could gain some more floor space.
So that is, when planning your bathroom, you typically will find space in very small increments. Elizabeth mentioned earlier an adjoining closet, an adjoining linen closet. A lot of us are getting rid of our old hot water heater and furnace that went up the flue, and now they go out of the hot side of the house. And it really actually isn't that big of a deal to take out the old chimney flue. Again, finding 2, 3, 6 square feet to be able to really dramatically change a bathroom footprint.
This is a good example of kind of a budget bath. They had a really cool older 1800s house in Minneapolis, and the homeowner did some of the work themselves to save some costs. But you can see, well, you can't see before, but the pedestal sink and the toilet were about 6 inches away from the wall from previous remodels or whatnot over the course of 100 years. So we did a half wall there with a cultured marble cap so that the space seemed more logical, and then they've got some extra storage there. And then you can see it's the same medicine cabinet as before. The homeowner stripped and repainted it. And then we kept their tub and reglazed it, and then did a new surround with the little accent tile. So this field tile, the Subway is fairly inexpensive, and there's different sizes. You can get 4x4, 6x6, different colors. But that's what most of your tile is going to end up being is some sort of field tile, and then these accents are what kind of can add cost. So just kind of got to think about how to best use them. Oh, here's the other side. So you can see they have a radiator, and then they did a Carrera hex floor, which fit with the style of the house, and that was kind of their splurge item. So this one is just showing kind of a more modern bath with kind of an updated vanity, dual flush toilet. This was an attic remodel, and you can see the space is kind of tight with the skylight there, so they moved the sink over and basically there was no bathroom up there before, so just created a usable space. This one's kind of showing, it's a little bit, I would say, more trendy, kind of, 2008, 2009, the oil rub bronze is really in with the vessel sink. So we don't do as much oil rub bronze anymore. But I think it's a good option depending on what style you're looking at. This is another good example of a budget bath. This is actually the luxury vinyl tile floor, and it comes in 12 by 12 tiles, and there's a bunch of different colors, but she chose to do that to save some costs, and then reused her pedestal sink and toilet, and then we put in a new glass block window. And tub and tile surround, yeah. This one's kind of showing you a little bit, again, more modern. This is more of a porcelain tile in the shower. And then they've got a grab bar by the toilet too. Here's another good budget example. They did a stock vanity with kind of the stock granite top, and then an inexpensive faucet.
Also here is the face frame in that back corner by the tub right here. You can use your budget toward a big linen closet that is a full cabinet with rollouts, a lot of things that can make storage more effective. But there's a cost there when you buy the full cabinet. Or you can also create an opening, put in shelves yourself, and order a cabinet front, a face frame, which I think is what happened here. It's an example of one way to do it. So again, budget is the face frame with your own shelves built into this opening, and a little more on the investing more into the space would be the cabinet with the rollouts and all the details.
This was only a tub, I believe, in this bathroom. There's no shower, but you can kind of see the nice contrast between the floor and the sink. This is an example. This one's not a budget bathroom, but they've got 2 sinks with stainless steel, and again, nice contrast. It's kind of think about, some people like all white bathrooms. I think some contrast between your flooring choice and your cabinets is really nice to add some interest to the space. This is a basement bathroom and a laundry combined. So you can kind of see they did a little bit different tile pattern in the shower. And again, this is inexpensive tile, and then this is where the cost was in that. They decided to put it in the niche and the little band around. This was a kind of Craftsman Frank Lloyd Wright house, and I believe they kept their tub and then did new subway tile wainscoting, and then the next one shows refinishing the existing medicine cabinet. This is a good example of a makeover. Basically what they did is take the pink bathroom, which we see so many of, and they took all the tile wainscoting off. So basically the wall was removed from here down, and then new drywall was put where the tile was, and the walls were skim coated, and then they put up some wainscoting. And the next one, I think, shows the other side. So you can see they kept their floor and their tub and did a new tile surround. So just kind of updating things, and they wanted to get rid of the pink.
What's the price range of this kind of?
That makeover, it's probably I'm not familiar with this project specifically, probably that 5 to 9 range.
Yeah, I would say 5,000 to 9,000 probably.
Yeah.
Depends on your fixture choices and materials. This is a good example, again, of another budget bathroom. They used this inexpensive tile throughout on the floor and the walls, which created kind of a nice, simple look. And then there's a cultured marble top, which is nice and updated. Those are actually separate undermount sinks, but you can get integrated sinks. And then they chose to do oak cabinetry, which is going to be a little bit less expensive than cherry or painted cabinets. This one is a good example of kind of finding things in different places. They had seen a tub just like this at Restoration Hardware, and I don't know, it's $10,000 or something, and they went online and found it much cheaper somewhere else. So, I think trying to find things elsewhere is a good, get the style you like and kind of do some research. And then again, subway tile, which is really popular, and then this accent is kind of where the money went on that tile. And then they ran, for some interest, they ran the subway vertically in the shower, which is kind of cool. This one was a master bath in an attic, and they did painted cabinets, and this is kind of a cool storage element, so kind of think about how you can fit in storage in different ways. They sacrificed some counter space there, but was worth it for them to have more linen space. This was a Rambler, a full bath, and again they kept their tub here, and it was really important to them to have a vanity and not a pedestal, so we designed something that was a little bit more compact, and that's again a cultured marble top. I think there's more on the next page. So that's a hickory vanity with little feet on it. And kind of more modern style. And then they did a porcelain tile in the shower. So here's some resources if you have an older home and you're looking for some salvage or reuse things. It's a great place to find medicine cabinets and pedestal sinks, all sorts of different things.
Yeah, if you've got the patience and a little bit of know-how, and you haven't been to one of these locations, I'm surprised. I think people are pretty aware of them. Architectural antiques, Bauer Brothers has a lot of plumbing pieces, etc. But you can make some things work in your bathroom, whether it's cabinetry that's close and needs a little alteration and a refinish. Medicine cabinets, a lot of times tubs, sinks, things like that. If you do have the old radiators in your home, a lot of times you got to get creative on finding something that will match that radiator. You can always go with the modern toe kick, low profile version, but if you want to have something that looks like what you have, these are great resources for that. And obviously you're going to be able to save a little more. Do you have anything else or
I don't think so.
questions?
Large tile versus small tile in a smaller bathroom, or diagonal tile laid diagonal on the floor. Any of that help?
Yeah, it does. It will probably make your space seem bigger to have bigger tile, less grout lines. So the large format kind of rectangular tile is really nice. If you run it kind of however you want the spaces seem bigger, if it's the width of the space or the length, if you run it that way, it'll kind of optical illusion make your space seem bigger.
Shinier versus matte?
It's really kind of personal preference. I think you want to be careful with the subway. It can be really shiny, so you want to make sure that the rest of things you pick maybe are a little bit more matte.
You're going to get more light bouncing around with the shiny, so there is something to be said for that. Anytime you can get light to play through a space, it does make it feel bigger. Whether it's reflection, whether it's wall-mounted lighting, natural lighting, so that the shininess is going to have an impact on that. But with that said, it can also get kind of bright. You know, in a bathroom, we're trying to control some of that light as you're working in a mirror and trying to see what's going on here. So you want to give some consideration as you look at the space to the direction and how much light it has. Do you want it to appear brighter or not?
Should you tile it to the ceiling, or is that trendy? Am I going to get tired of that?
No, we do that all the time, basically, unless someone specifically doesn't want to, or you've got super high ceilings. I think water and in your shower area, you want to keep it contained, so tiled to the ceiling is a good
one of the big
option.
concerns really for me on more the project planning construction side is management of water. So I like to see that tile go to the ceiling. You know, that extra 2 feet is just a headache waiting to be painted at some later date. Obviously, when people are working with us, it's a couple more dollars to do that, so that's one of the many things that come up as we're talking about budget is do we extend it a little further. But we like to start with that assumption, again, providing for, I think it's a nice look, but also really worrying about how we manage that moisture in that bathroom, having the bath fan run, having the tile go to the ceiling, so that your investment lasts a long time.
Good place for an accident.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Can support bars be put in afterwards?
Yeah.
Do they have
Yes.
to go into a 2x4, or can they be an afterthought drilled through a tile?
Exactly. What we like to do is know what's going to be there. Take a picture and block in the wall. Literally, either you can use a larger sheet of plywood, 3/4 inch plywood that's recessed into the studs, or block between the studs. Whatever your method is, take a picture of that, store it in your file about your bathroom, and then tile her up, and have some notes about where it is. And then you can drill right through that tile with a masonry bit or ceramic bit. And mount those bars later. But that's what I meant when I'm asking my clients, do we want to plan for this? And I know I don't need that tomorrow, but hopefully this bathroom's here for 20 years. You do a little math and you're like, yeah, I might not mind a grab bar at that point.
Do you have any thing you've done with the retro 50s ramblers?
You mean as far as making them, giving them back that? I'll let
1950-ish. We have a lot.
Okay. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I mean, we're up in, our main office is in northeast Minneapolis, St. Anthony. So then you get into the Roseville, very similar age suburbs, similar housing stock. We do some work in Bloomington, but our experience ranges from, 1890, really up to those Ramblers and the prevalent home style here, at least on the east side. And so we do get into the challenges of that, dealing with the older plumbing, dealing with the thicker walls, dealing with what comes with an older house, but also the advantages of it. Ramblers are fabulous. They're easy to work on. They're easy to affect the architectural style. Now, as far as keeping that design in the the era of the home. I'll let you kind of talk to that.
Yeah, there was, I don't know if anyone saw the article in the Star Tribune about the pink baths, but we do a lot of those. And a lot of people are like, I want the pink gone, I want it all gone, and that's one option. I think there are companies that make reproduction tile, which is often the issue is that your shower valves, you've got the two handles, and you want to change it to a thermostatic mixing valve and bring it up to code. So there's options for replacing tiles and closely matching. And I think just thinking about color scheme, if you've got pink and black, gray works really nice with that, kind of bring it together and make it look purposeful. And then if you can choose kind of countertop materials that work with that, and kind of if you make it seem like it's meant to be that way, it works
you look at,
pretty well.
It was probably a cultured marble top in there, maybe a tile top even before that. But both of those products we can duplicate it, and with the cultured marble, I think we can do better than they did 40 years ago because we have some new patterns and finishes. It can be a little thicker. It's just more pleasing to our expectations here in 2012, still meeting the look of that era. And that's really, I mean, that's what we focus on. We're not as often called to a house that's 8, 9, 10 years old, which is a different design challenge. So yeah, it's finding the replacement pieces, deciding how you want to pay homage to what was there versus how you want to be realistic. That shower valve they put in 1950 it's not good anymore. It's not a good choice for conserving water and functioning well and not scalding you. So we'd like to update that, but respect the room.
Yeah, so choosing fixtures that kind of go with the style. And I think I like it personally. I think it can be kind of a fun look. The tile is extra thick, which is, we don't do that anymore, and it's kind of some nice craftsmanship. So.
What's an option like with textured drywall in a bathroom?
To do it or to get rid of it?
To get rid of it or to mask it?
To deal with it?
Deal with it.
You can skim coat it. Now in a drywall, a lot of times they're going to use a high gloss paint, which makes anything sticking to it a little tougher. If they didn't use a high gloss paint and it's just old and it's a texture, you can skim over it. And so from my perspective, as far as the construction side, it's really not hard to do. It just takes some labor. It's going to create some dust as you sand it out, but you can get a nice smooth finish out of that. As far as masking the texture itself, paint style or anything, I can't.
Maybe choosing a not high sheen
Yeah,
paint,
I'd look to a flatter. I'd look to a flatter finish on the paint. Again, in a bathroom, because of the moisture on the wall, we prefer to upgrade it. If you look at the finishes of paint of flat and eggshell and satin up to the glossier versions. We prefer to get a little more gloss in those walls because it also tends to protect from water a little more. Mm-hmm. Now, paints have come a long way. Flat paint is way better than it was 20 years ago. It's scrubbable. It's so it may be that a flat in that situation.
So you're not necessarily have to go down all the way down to replace the drywall. You can.
No, I would if everything else is in order, depending on how your tile integrates with the sheetrock, things like that, or the wallboard, I would skim over it and just a couple 5-gallon tubs of mud and some patience and a wide knife, 2 to 3 coats, and you should be able to smooth it out. Anything else? Is that all you got?
Yeah. Can you put a niche on the outside wall?
No, you can't. They have to be on interior walls.
Yeah, we're going to look for an interior wall. Otherwise, they'll have a cold spot.
Yeah, your tile will crack.
The circa 1890 to 1920s home where they put a ironing board in the outside wall and it would fold into the house. And now a lot of those are converted into spice cabinets. And every winter the spices freeze because you're basically right up against 18 degrees. So yeah, we try to keep our plumbing equipment, our niches, things like that on the interior wall spaces.
A couple of questions. One is the vanities with the legs that you can see the tile underneath. Are those custom built or are they?
We do a lot of custom vanities just because the small space, that's usually a good place to use your budget because you can customize the size of it and the depth. But you can find a lot of those at big box stores, Home Depot, IKEA has more modern versions online. Yeah.
Yeah, the big thing is you're going to have to take the sizes they come.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the in-floor heating. Is that you can do coils, and then is there another way to do that too? Or?
You can do a mat too.
Yeah, in electric, it has come in a mat. They're tending, and it still does. They're tending the professionals are liking the coils because they can easily customize it, make it go where it wants. I think it's easier to find breaks in the coil if you're unfortunate enough to have that happen. It's fabulous. When my customers are right on the edge of being able to decide whether or not that's in the budget, and I give them a little shove, I haven't had one of them that come back and don't say that it's just wonderful having warm toes in the middle of February in a Minnesota bathroom.
And so, does it happen very often that the coil breaks or something?
Not very. I've seen it and been, a couple of times in my career, and one of the times it wasn't a big deal. They could actually use a sensor to find the break, and the floor covering was easy enough to get back through that we were able to go right after. The other one was kind of a longer duration drag. But that is pretty rare, and I'm pretty confident that it's a nice investment to have. It really is.
They test it before they pour
Yeah.
the self-leveler on it. So before your tile goes on, you should know if there's any.
If there's a break, one of the break like that I'm referring to, that it's happened somehow, some way after the test, as the mortar base has been laid on, and through the process of finishing it.
Yeah, it does have a 15 to 20-year lifespan, so
Yeah.
it's not forever, but it's a good option.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, if you've stayed in a hotel with it or something where you've experienced it, it's awful comfy. All right. We'll be here for a few minutes too if you want to wait and ask a question in the hall. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. This is helpful.